Guys, so we have an urgent information coming out. Tsunami threat after Alaska earthquake. The Pacific Ring of Fire is shaking right now, guys. And let me show you some of this news here. If you can, please share the video. It says here, series of earthquakes strike US coastline today. Once again, we're going to get to all this news here. Strong earthquake strikes near Alaska. And the West Coast, here in the U.S., the West Coast, you have some governor out there that is urging owners that own businesses or buildings that it's time to earthquake proof. And they are urging residents out there to make sure you have your emergency supplies ready and know your preparation when it comes to the big one. All right, so you guys already know there's been a lot of earthquake going on. There was a 7.4 Sunday. All right, so that struck the eastern part of Russia, and there is some earthquake going on today, and we're gonna see what's going on with this news. All right, guys, before I start, for those of you that want to send us letters or prayer requests, you can send it to me, Lord Santiago, or my wife Jessica Santiago at 3432 US Highway 19. Number 2, Holiday, Florida 34691. And for those of you that want to contribute to the channel, we do have the Cash App link and the PayPal link in the comments box and also description box. Thank you again for your support. Your support is what keeps us on air. Thank you so much, guys. All right, let's see what's going on with this news here. So it says here at least seven earthquake have rattled the coast of Alaska in the last 24 hours, according to the USGS. Now, the earthquake ranged in magnitude between 2.5 up to 5.2 and stretched across the southwest tip of the state along the Gulf of Alaska. Now, there were no immediate threat reports of damage or injuries. The sparsely inhabited area of the earthquake runs from Pedro Bay to Nikolsky, Alaska. Just 2 months ago, the same area experienced a massive 7.3 magnitude earthquake that triggered a tsunami warning, which was later canceled. This region is situated along the Alasian Subduction Zone Mega Thrust, a highly active seismic zone that has generated at least 2 recorded tsunamis in the 20th century, according to the USGS. Wow. Now it says here, Alaska is the most seismically active state in the U.S. and one of the most active regions globally. Now it says here, the cluster occurred in a sparsely inhabited stretch of the state that lies above the Alasian Subduction Zone Megathrust, a major source of the strongest earthquakes in the North Pacific and a source of past tsunamis. Now, the recent activity comes amid heightened seismicity across the North Pacific following a large earthquake in July of 2025 near Russian Kamchatka Peninsula, with officials continuing to monitor aftershocks and regional seismic signals. So you guys already know Russia, eastern part, is still seeing those aftershocks. Alright, so it says here the USGS compiled reports show at least 7 separate earthquakes over a period of 24 hours along the southern coast of Alaska. It says here the largest, a magnitude 5.2 event, struck at a depth of 6.2 miles, nearly 76 miles south by southwest of Nikolsky, Alaska, and did not prompt an immediate tsunami warning. All right, so at the very beginning, I did show you the news article. It did mention tsunami warning. Again, I truly apologize. That news article right there, it seems like it didn't put out the real info. According to USGS, there were no tsunami warning. All right, so again, I truly apologize about the first news article. So it says here another earthquake struck hundreds of miles north of the series on Monday, a magnitude 3.1 earthquake that struck about 31 miles north of Kabuk in the northwest part of the state, according to the USGS map. You guys already know this, the Mount Spur volcano. Experts are warning that it could blow any moment. Alaska ranks among the most seismically active U.S. states because it overlies major plate boundaries. The Aleutian subduction zone produces many of the region's strongest earthquakes. USGS and Alaska Monitoring Agency have long documented. The Aleutian megathrust result from the Pacific plate subducting beneath the North American plate, an interaction that has generated very large earthquakes and tsunami-producing events in the 20th century, according to the USGS. The North Pacific has seen elevated seismic activity after a powerful earthquake struck near Russia-Kamchatka Peninsula on July 29, 2025, which seismologists characterize as a main shock in a sequence of large events. USGS monitoring the Alaska Earthquake Center warned that sequences that include very large main shocks typically produce aftershocks and sustain elevated seismicity over months to years, a dynamic relevant to the September 16 through the 15 through the 16 cluster. So what was the largest earthquake to ever hit Alaska? Well, the largest recorded earthquake in the U.S. history was the 1964 Great Alaska Earthquake, which struck on March 27, 1964, and registered magnitude 9.2 on a moment magnitude scale. That is crazy. 9.2? Wow. 9.2. That event generated widespread ground failure and tsunamis, causing fatality and damage across Alaska and parts of the Pacific Basin. It remains a central reference point for seismic hazard planning in the region. Now it says here, you have Stephen, Public Affairs Specialist for the USGS Media Lead for Natural Hazards, told Newsweek in an email Tuesday. Alaska is the most seismically active state in the U.S. and one of the most active regions globally. It seems like most of the seismicity is relatively small, magnitude 4.0, with two moderate earthquakes 4.8 and 5.2 at a variety of depths, 7 kilometers to 143 kilometers, and spanning more than 1,000 kilometers of the southern Alaska plate boundary. This is a common earthquake activity for this particular area. The USGS survey said in 2019, excuse me, the new findings indicate that the recurrence interval for large tsunami generated in the eastern Aleutians ranges from 164 to 250 years, an important result that will inform updates to both the USGS National Seismic Hazard Map and the tsunami source models of the NOAA-led National Tsunami Hazard Mitigation Program. So what happens next? Seismologists expected aftershock to follow. So there's going to be some more quake, guys. A monitoring agency in Alaska and the North Pacific continues to track seismicity and issue public guidance as needed. All right, give me a second here, guys. I want to continue with this story here. So once again, there was a 5.2 magnitude earthquake has struck off the coast of Alaska, Aleutian Island. There were no immediate tsunami warning issued after the quake at 1 a.m. local time. The USGS said the earthquake had a depth of 10 kilometers, 6.2 miles. Now, a similar size earthquake in the same area occurred on September 6th, but it was of a greater depth and 30 miles closer to the coastline. It likewise did not trigger a tsunami. Once again, according to the Alaska Earthquake Center, the Aleutian megathrust is the primary cause of the strongest earthquake in the region. The Aleutian megathrust is a major subduction zone fault, an area where two tectonic plates meet. Along this fault is where the Pacific plate is forced beneath the North American plate, causing substantial seismicity activity. Earthquake in the North Pacific region. There is heightened seismic activity in the North Pacific at the moment after a huge 8.8 magnitude earthquake along Russia's eastern Kamchatka Peninsula, which is part of the same tectonic region as the Aleutian chain on July 29. The Alaska Earthquake Center said in an article that the Kamchatka Peninsula earthquake is likely the main shock of a sequence of heavy earthquake and tremors that began on July the 20th. Aftershock will continue for years, the article said. On Monday, September 15, USGS recorded 3 separate earthquakes in Russia's Far East in short succession. A 4th was later recorded. There's a lot of earthquake going on, guys. Okay, so I'm gonna take it straight to the USGS earthquake map here. So I want to take it to this one really quick. A 6.0 struck off Papua New Guinea. And that, again, that area sees a lot of earthquake. Now we're going to go way up here towards Alaska, and you guys see all them earthquakes going on there. The biggest one is at 5.2. That's the one we're talking about. Going down here to South America. Again, that's a fault line there. But this is where we at right now, guys. This is where we at, which is earthquake. And there is another news here, but I won't be able to read it because they are charging just to read their news article. And again, guys, there's so many news websites that I basically pay monthly, and it just an arm and a leg right now. So once again, there was a fear tsunami warning. Powerful earthquake hits near Alaska, sparking fears of a tsunami warning. So that was earlier today's tsunami threat after Alaska. Again, there was no tsunami warning put out. There was no tsunami warning. Around 90% of the earthquake energy doesn't do what you think it does. Look at this one here. A massive earthquake is going to hit the Pacific Northwest, scientists say, and it could wipe out the coastline. We don't know when it will hit, and we need to be far better prepared. Now, this one here, I would love to read a news article, but yeah, it just... Everything nowadays is all money, And again, these are big companies too, and again, they rely on their supporter to support them, and but again, I'm gonna leave that link in the comments box, guys. I won't be able to read that. Like I said, I have too many news website articles that I pay monthly. Again, I do that so I could share the news to many of you. But again, this is where we are right now, guys. Alaska is getting hit. Is getting hit. There was no tsunami warning, but boy, there were powerful earthquake going on in that region today. Thank you so much for watching, guys. For those of you that want to send us letters or prayer requests, you can send it to me, US Santiago, or my wife, Jessica Santiago, at 3432 US Highway 19, number 2, Holiday, Florida, 34691. Once again, guys, $5 a month Patreon will get you access to our live stream. We go live once a week. We talk about things that we cannot talk about on the platform. Also, I posted videos today. Those links will be in the comments box. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you all. Put faith and trust in Jesus Christ, for He's the only way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father except through Jesus. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time later. Peace.